Hello everyone! So as you may have guessed from the title and thumbnail of this video, it is time to share with you the books that I received for Christmas / the books I bought with the gift cards that I received for Christmas. Yay holidays. I have a hearty stack for you. I believe it's 11. And the first little bunch that I want to show you are the ones that were actually given to me as presents. The first one is one that you will be very familiar with, and that is Tales of Beedle the Bard by J.K. Rowling. Now, I do already own this book, but I own the US edition. My aunt and uncle were kind enough to give me the UK edition, which I kind of prefer the cover of anyway. It looks a little bit more mature. It looks like the actual book that they would have been reading from versus the US one is very much, you know, in line with the US book covers. But I look forward to reading this once I've finished rereading the series, since I am about, I don't know, a fourth of the way through the sixth one right now, and then I can sort of read this to top it all off. These other two books I received from someone that you all know quite well, and that is Les. She gave me two books as part of my present for this year. The first one that I have to share with you is The Sunrise by Victoria Hislop. This has a bit of history between the two of us because we read a book called The Island by Victoria Hislop a long time ago, and ever since then we just sort of have these particular memories associated with that experience. And so when she saw this book at the Strand in New York City, she picked it up for me. It is a little beat up, but it is about the coup d'etat in Cyprus in 1974, and it follows a couple families. Some are Greek Cypriot, some are Turkish Cypriot, and how they deal with this coup d'etat and how they learn to get along. And then the other book that she gave me is not actually a novel, it is a coloring book, and it is Splendid Cities by Rosie Goodwin and Alice Chadwick. Another one of those, you know, color your way to calm things. What's fun about this one is it has drawings that are based off of actual cities, and then some of them are sort of make-believe. So for example, this one is obviously, you know, taking inspiration from a real city, versus one like this, which is not based off of anything that actually exists. It's just fun to color. This one is a book I received for review from the author, and it is Love Him Not by Tara K. Reid. Now, at first glance, this sounds like some sort of chick lit romance novel, which is not really what I tend to gravitate towards, but it's actually a lot more than that. It is a choose your own adventure book, and I have read one called Pretty Little Mistakes. I've had so much fun with that book in the past, and so this one is in that same vein where you are following the main character and making her decisions about her love life. There are a bunch of different outcomes, from getting married to said love interest to I don't even know what happened here. So I feel like this will be really fun, very much a get together with your friends, have a glass of wine, and then just read the book out loud to each other and see who ends up in what situation. It's always very entertaining with these ones, especially because we did have so much fun with Pretty Little Mistakes, so I'm looking forward to seeing how Love Him Not turns out. The final grouping of books are ones that I used my gift cards to buy, so there's a nice variation here. The first one is Requiem by Lauren Oliver, and yeah, I know this book is old news, but the thing is, I finally read Pandemonium this summer during a readathon and realized that I actually still really enjoyed it, and so it was worth going out and purchasing Requiem and just finishing off the series. I enjoyed Delirium a lot. I still enjoyed Pandemonium after, like, I don't know, 3 years, and now I'm gonna read Requiem. I'm gonna do it, guys. I'm gonna finish it. I do want to mention that I think this is a horrible angle for this girl to be portrayed on the cover. I assume because each cover is a woman's face that it is the same person each time, but this angle is just not a flattering angle. The next book that I bought was Redeployment by Phil Kay. It is about the Iraq War. It's a bunch of different stories regarding it. From what I understand, it's in the same vein as The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien, wherein the stories are rooted in truth, but they're not actual nonfiction personal accounts. So this author has taken different things that other people have experienced and just applied that to the characters that he's writing about in these short stories. I think it's going to be a really intense ride. I don't think I've actually read anything regarding the Iraq War because it is so recent. I tend to read more books regarding World War II specifically, but also Vietnam and things like that. So not so much the Iraq War, just because it is so recent, so I feel like this will be eye-opening. It'll teach me some things about the warfare in the 21st century and what that means for the soldiers when they come back home. Now I'm throwing some translated fiction in here. We have The Dinner by Herman Koch. I did look up how to pronounce his last name. It's said like the drink Coke. So, this book takes place over one evening where two families come together to have dinner at a restaurant, and they're coming together because they are talking over the fact that their two sons did something really, really bad together. And of course, you don't know what it is, and I have a feeling the book's going to lead you up to that point where the big reveal of what they actually did. I have a feeling it starts off everyone's really cordial and nice, and then as the evening goes on, they sort of start talking about what happened, and I think it's gonna get really, really ugly. I mean, the fact that it's like a hole burnt in the tablecloth really says something about what this book is going to turn into. And what sort of book haul would it be for me if it didn't involve a few nonfiction books? First one is The Birth of the Pill by Jonathan Eig, How Four Crusaders Reinvented Sex and Launched a Revolution. So it follows two females and two males and how their stories intertwine regarding the creation of the pill, like birth control pill that so many women these days take, and how that really led us into the sexual revolution of the 1960s. The impression that I'm getting is that these four different characters come from four different corners of the rise of and creation of the pill and how it came to be, so there'll be different perspectives on maybe why it's really fantastic and maybe why it's not so great, at least from their point of view. The next nonfiction is Smoke Gets in Your Eyes and Other Lessons from the Crematory by Caitlin Doughty. I didn't actually realize this until after I bought the book, but I read an article by her online at one point, so I was already actually aware of her without realizing that this book existed. So the author took her flair for the macabre and her degree in medieval history and ended up working as a mortician, and this book is actually a memoir about her experiences doing that job, and I am going to learn a lot from this, and I'm sure learn a lot about what we think about when we think about our own mortality and death in different cultures, things like that. So I am really, really looking forward to reading this book. The final nonfiction book that I have to show you is I Am Malala by Malala Yousafzai. I'm not entirely sure if that's how you pronounce her last name because I only ever hear Malala. So this is a memoir about what happened to her, and I'm sure many of you are already aware of her story. She is the youngest winner of the Nobel Peace Prize, and she was shot in the head by the Taliban in 2012 because she was a girl who wanted to go to school. Lucky for her, she survived, and she used that experience and her determination to bring light to what happened and how women around the world are denied education. The original edition of this book was published in 2013. I have the new 2015 release, which comes with a prologue, sort of an update on her life. I think it was written like after she won the Nobel Peace Prize, so that's sort of included in the prologue of the book now. In addition to learning about her story, what happened to her, things that she's done since then. I mean, she's awesome. This woman is amazing, and so I need to know more about her story, and this is the perfect way to do it. And my final book for this book haul, I'm sure many of you will recognize, and it is A Brief History of 7 Killings by Marlon James. It's the most recent winner of the Man Booker Prize, and I decided to give it a shot. I have a feeling this will be a bit challenging for me just by flipping through the pages and what I've heard about it. It is a fiction book, but it is rooted in truth. It starts with the attempted assassination of Bob Marley in December of 1976, and the cast of characters are then followed over a number of years and what happens to them, where their stories go. I'm sure how they're all intertwined, things like that. Besides the fact that it is massive and the font is very tiny, I have been told that the style of writing can be a bit difficult to get into at times. I have a feeling there will be some dialect that might be difficult to make my way through because I always have trouble with that. I mean, it took me forever to read Room just because it was written from the perspective of a 5-year-old. That being said, I really think it is worth my time, worth pushing through, because everyone has said that once they finished this book, it was actually really, really awesome. And hey, it won. So even the guy at the bookstore was like, yes, you have to read this book. So, I mean, peer pressure, guys, peer pressure. That is it. That's everything. All the new books that I have to now fit on this one bookcase behind me. That'll be fun. I'm sure some of you out there have read these books, so let me know which ones you really enjoyed, and if you have a particular book that you want me to read next, just let me know which one down below, and whichever one gets the most mentions, I will read that next. I like doing that, it's fun. As always, all of the links are in the doobly-doo. Check those out if you feel so inclined. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you later.